The old man's scream tore through the street like a blade, stopping every wandering eye, every idle breath, every rumbling motorcycle engine. His voice cracked with pain, so raw, it didn't sound human at first, more like a wounded animal calling out for help that never came. Bent over his cane, trembling, face flushed with terror and fury, he shouted the words that froze even the toughest men in their tracks. "They beat my wife." And for a heartbeat, the entire street held still, suspended between disbelief and the sudden shift in the air that comes when something much bigger than a simple argument is unfolding. If you believe the world still has room for kindness, courage, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more real and powerful stories to life. The biker crewmen with heavy boots, thick beards, and jackets patched with wings and skulls had been roaring down the street moments earlier, laughing, arguing, living loud the way bikers do. But the moment they saw the old man clutching the air for attention, his voice drowning in desperation, everything changed. The biggest among them, a bald, tattooed giant with arms like tree trunks, stepped off his bike and approached. He had the look of someone who'd seen enough fights to know when one wasn't worth having and when one absolutely was. Yet even he blinked in confusion when the old man staggered forward and shouted again, louder this time, shaking with emotion as if the words alone might break him apart. The street seemed to lean in as the giant steadied the trembling elder by the elbow. But the old man shoved him off, insisting he didn't need sympathy, he needed help. His wife, frail and already recovering from surgery, had been assaulted by two local thugs who had been harassing him for months. What started as mocking turned into threats, and what turned into threats eventually turned into violence. He had tried to defend her, but age had betrayed him. His body was weak, and his legs barely held his own weight, much less allowed him to fight back. So he chased them down the road in heartbreak, screaming for anyone at all to help him. The giant biker bowed his head as if listening to a sermon, then lifted his gaze slowly, and the horror look in his eyes spread like fire among his crew. The other riders stepped closer, their earlier rowdiness simmering into something quieter, heavier. Behind them, curious neighbors watched from porches and sidewalks, unsure of what would happen next. Bikers had a reputation, loud, rough, unpredictable. But compassion, justice, few expected that. The giant gently rested a hand on the old man's shoulder, and although there were no soft words spoken, something in the way he did it conveyed everything. We hear you. We believe you. And we're going to do something about it. In a powerful wave of determination, the bikers circled the old man like an armored wall, not to intimidate him, but to protect him. The leader pointed down the street where the old man's house sat with its porch light still flickering in the late afternoon sun. Several neighbors peeked cautiously from behind their doors, but made no move to interfere. This wasn't their battle, at least. Not until they saw someone brave enough to take the first step. The old man led the crew down the road, limping and shaking but fueled by the presence of men who looked like warriors from another era. The giant walked beside him, matching his slow pace out of respect, while the rest followed close behind. As they approached the house, the two thugs who had attacked his wife were still lingering near the front yard, laughing, tossing a bottle between them like it was a trophy of their cruelty. They didn't laugh for long. The bikers fanned out like a shield. Engines still rumbled faintly behind them from the bikes they'd left running. Shadows stretched across the pavement as if the world itself was leaning forward to witness what would happen. The thugs froze when they realized who these men were, full-grown riders, with years of battles behind their eyes and no fear in their steps. But the bikers didn't throw a punch, they didn't need to. Their silent, unified presence was enough. The giant stepped forward, towering over the thugs, his shadow swallowing theirs. The air thickened, and the street fell silent again, as if the world was holding its breath. The thugs, realizing the depth of their mistake, stammered apologies no one believed. Their hands shook, their voices cracked, and before long, they were retreating down the road under the cold, unblinking stare of a dozen bikers who didn't break eye contact until the cowards disappeared entirely. Inside the house, the old man's wife sat bruised on the couch, dabbing her face with a damp cloth. Her eyes widened when she saw her husband return, not alone, not defeated, but surrounded by like heroes who treated her with the kind of respect she thought the world had forgotten. The giant knelt beside her chair, lowering himself so he wouldn't tower over her. He didn't say anything profound, but the tenderness in the way he nodded to her carried more meaning than words ever could. The crew spent the next hour helping the couple clean up the damages, securing the doors, fixing the broken lamp, and sweeping up shattered glass. They were gentle with her, careful with him, and patient with the house. That felt like it had been holding its breath for far too long. And when they finally stepped outside again, the street that had been filled with doubt and distance now bristled with admiration and awe. Because kindness, when unleashed by those capable of great strength, has a power that can silence an entire neighborhood. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps more than you know. Before we end, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you witnessed this moment? And as the bikes roared back to life, and the crew rode off into the golden horizon, the street was left with a new legend, one not born from fear or dominance, but from unexpected compassion, fierce loyalty, and a reminder that sometimes the most intimidating people are the ones with the softest hearts.